Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast. I'm your host, Sharryse. I interview people making a difference in their communities and in their creative spaces. Today's special guest is an Army veteran, as well as a lead singer, guitarist, and executive producer of a grunge band called The Quarantine. Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast, Sean Martin.
Thank you, Sharryse, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. So we're going to just jump right into the interview. So can you tell everyone where you're from?
Sure. I'm originally from Fort Bragg, California. It's a small town on the coast, about 4 hours north of San Francisco. And it's a nice little, oasis on the northern part of California.
I gotta ask, how many people get mixed up with Fort Bragg from North Carolina compared to where you're actually from in California?
He's like all of them. So especially in the military, people
Yeah.
would look at the paperwork and be like, "Oh, you're from Fort Bragg, so you're an Army brat." I'd be like, "Actually, California is the state, so no, I wasn't actually." And then, I mean, higher enlisted officers, I'd get them every time. Attention to detail, sir. Huh. All right, fine, you're
All
good.
right. That's so funny. So, do you have any siblings? If so, how many? Did you grow up in a big family or small family?
Yeah, I have two brothers and two stepbrothers.
Wow.
And my my mom comes from she has 8 siblings,
Wow.
and so we have a much larger, bigger family that I grew up with, and Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas was always little kids running around all over the place. Whose kids are those? I don't even like. So
That's funny. So basically, you had a family reunion every Thanksgiving and Christmas.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, a lot of times there'd be. I mean, it's not a lot of the family is spread out on different states now, and so sometimes they take it, sometimes they can't. But not too long ago, we had the whole family get together, and for my grandma's 100th birthday,
Wow.
and everybody got together. It was a solid like 200 people with the family members and their spouses and kids and everything, and we fit them all on this big, huge table, and it's a great picture. But
Yeah,
it's
I can imagine.
again.
Wow. Speaking of your 100-year-old grandmother, I bet she has some amazing stories that she's told you about her time just living.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's so when for her growing up in the 30s and 40s, and
Mhm.
she came to Fort Bragg, I think, mid 20s or when she was mid 20s or 30 years old, and I think, and she would tell me stories about oh that bridge that's out on that pass. Our family had something to do with that. It's there's all these little things that you'd never guess that your family has an influence, but when you've been there for that long,
Yeah.
um, it's really surprising to learn just how deep your roots really go.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool. I bet you have a sense of like pride. You feel a sense of pride and legacy when you visit home. I would assume so, but I don't know, so I'm asking.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's there is, I don't think I felt it so much when I was younger.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if I could really appreciate it when I was younger, but now, especially, yeah, I mean, it doesn't it doesn't feel like it's my town, but it's mine. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like, but it's at least for Bald Hill where we're at. It's that's to me that's you know as close to an ancestral homeland as I can get.
that's really cool. In 3 words, how would you describe yourself when you were a kid?
Oh, um, uh, creative, um, athletic, uh, and a little crazy.
I feel like we all got to be a little crazy to join the military. So I see where you're going.
Yeah, yeah. The crazy things, step in, especially in teenagers. That's where they go after you.
Now, speaking of creativity, though, you're a musician. So, were you into music as a kid, or were you creative in other ways?
Yeah, I've been into music since I was 4 years old. I would do community choirs, and I'd be the littlest kid on the end of the community choir line, and every once in a while they'd bring me up for a solo just to have it, just for the awe factor. And, oh, it's so cute, yeah, that. And when I was 7, I had the great opportunity to be in an opera, in the Opera Tosca,
Wow.
and I was one of the little, the kid like chorus thing that they had. There was only 3 of us, and we had this big 5,000 seat tent to fill,
Wow.
and with their voices. So we all had to do some serious vocal training then to make sure that we could bring the depth that it needed to fill out that huge, because it's a tent,
Mhm.
big tent. It sucks up sound, and you make a whisper off stage and nobody will hear it. But if you go, hey, we're doing that, then they'll hear you, So
That's
yeah,
cool. What instruments did you first learn how to play as a kid? Since I know you're a musician, so.
yeah. Um, I started learning guitar when I was 12, and I had a little bit of piano, and just enough to realize that the guitar was more my instrument. There's there's a little bit more depth and tone and feeling that you could really put some kind of, you can only slam the keys so much, and then you're like, but I want a whole song that slams the keys. I can do that with guitar.
Yeah.
And my grandma was a pianist all through her life, and
Mhm.
I knew, especially as a kid, one of the things that she would do is she used to be the piano player at like Nordstrom's. So in
Wow, I didn't even know they had piano players there.
back in the day, they did, when they had the big department stores, and there's like 2 or 3 levels to a Nordstrom's in like a corner of a mall. Some of them would have pianists go and play to set the ambience and the mood. And she eventually had that job for a while. Before, she had a long history of putting on productions, and in her community of Walnut Creek, California.
Mhm.
And she would always play the Looney Tunes theme when we would
Oh my god, so cool.
when we would go to see Grandma. Dun, 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 dun. Hilarious. It was great.
Oh, that's gotta be a pastime favorite memory of yours, I'm sure.
Oh yes, it is, absolutely. Well, it's always there. Yeah.
Did you ever get into plays or musicals when you were in elementary school and middle school? I mean, I know you said, you were in the opera and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I did more musical theater when I was in high school.
Okay, okay.
I got the lead role of Billy Bigelow in Carousel on my freshman year, and it was
Wow.
very exciting to be able to do that, and especially for a freshman kid, I had to kiss a girl on stage, and
Oh
there
wow,
was
okay. Was that your first kiss?
no, no, it wasn't, but it eventually turned into a relationship, so it was kind of fun.
Wow.
Very, very Hollywood in that way.
You got some skills developed during that musical. It seems
Maybe.
like. So once you got into high school, you talking about you were doing musical theater in high school. Did you have plans to attend college? Did you want to go to the military? Like, where was your mindset at that time? Like once you got to 12th grade.
Well, you know, my mindset was, I was hoping that I was going to be able to get into a junior college.
Okay.
My grades were, I had A's, through chorus and um, theater, but everything else is not so great. So
Yeah.
ended up having like a 3.1 or 3.2. It's barely enough to get into a JC.
Mhm.
And then I couldn't really afford it, and neither could my parents. So there was definitely a sense of turning to the military,
Yeah.
because the opportunity to get out of the town was first and foremost in my mind, because I really didn't see another way. I was working service industry jobs, bussing tables and working at restaurants, and eventually I got fired from all of those jobs.
Dang, man, what were you doing? Oh, wait, before you move forward, what caused you to get fired? What do you remember?
A few things. So one I got let go just because they were downsizing, and it
Okay.
so happened, you know, it was a kind of a larger restaurant in the area, at
Mhm.
least Fort Bragg, and but um, the other one, well, they knew that I was going to go into the military,
Oh, okay.
and so it was more like we're not like firing you. It's more just go and do your thing now,
Yeah.
just a little bit early. For I wasn't always great at that kind of work. It's good for to keep your mind busy, but
Yeah.
for me, I'm a little bit of a dreamer. So be like, oh, the tables need to get bussed on 4. Oh, yeah. How long has it been? I wasn't smoking weed at that point, so it's kind of like a little weird to be as maybe a little absent minded. You know,
Okay,
I
I get that. C-
still live across from my parents live across from my old boss
Wow.
at still. She's really nice. She
So,
yeah.
has she said anything to you since then? Have you had a conversation with her about where you're at in life now?
Oh, sure. She's very, very happy and supportive.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, Susan and Jim. Jim is passed away now, but
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
it's all right. Susan is doing great, and still the restaurant is not there. It's changed into something else now.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
On the floor, they still have this sign that said the restaurant, and then on the other end of it, it said the rest of the world.
that's cool. That, I like.
It's wood, very nice, lacquered, and it's very nice.
Wow. I'm pretty sure she's probably like, yeah, man, that daydreaming you did really paid off.
At least a little bit. I know I wrote some of my songs, at least some lyrics, while I was working. I know I did that.
That's pretty awesome. All right. So this next segment is called Digging Deeper. And during this segment, I'll ask you some thought provoking questions about your career and your personal life. So for my first question, what branch did you decide to serve in for those who probably ignored the introduction? And what made you want to go with that branch?
So I chose the Army. And I I went with the Army because I wanted to be in Special Forces. So I
Gotcha.
originally signed up into an 18X contract, which is essentially, it sounds cooler than it actually is. It's the fast lane to Special Forces training. So they
Okay.
have an 11X program, which is the fast track to Ranger School. And so I wanted to do that because I wanted to be in a combat arm. I knew that I wanted to do that, but I
Mhm.
want to just settle for the infantry. I wanted to go a little bit further. I wanted to do the high speed stuff, the really intense, and to really know about the world, kind of MOS. I wanted danger.
Yeah, I
I
can
wanted
see.
adventure, and it was really important to me to learn a lot of combat skills.
Yeah.
At the time I'm a pretty angry kid. I had a lot of different things going on in my life that injustices and unfairness and teen angst and stuff, issues with parents, and it's kind of drives you into, well, they're going to pay me to mess people up.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Like, job doesn't get much better than that. So much better than busting tables,
For sure, for sure. I like to say that it goes back to the three words that you decided to describe yourself as. You said a little crazy, and I feel like you get to be a little crazy in that MOS, just a little bit.
Yeah, kind of a lot.
Yeah.
There's at least a few opportunities to be crazy, not just in, I eventually, what part of the 18X program is to go to airborne school.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually chose to defer from going to airborne school straight into special forces training. I deferred and decided to go and join put myself in needs of the Army.
Wow.
And then they put me at the 3rd of the 509th in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
and I with them. And it was, you definitely have to be a lot of crazy to do airborne school and jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the first jump that we did, they were like, we need to get the night jump out of the way. And
wow. That's the first jump you guys did?
Yeah, they have you do a night jump, at least one. And so when you're up there, I mean, you're only up there maybe 2,000 feet. It's a static line jump, so it's not, like James Bond jumping out of a 747, 35,000 feet. It's not that. It's you're at 1,400 feet. The static line pulls right away. You have four. You count to four, and if your parachute is open by 4, you pull the reserve. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's if your equipment fails you, you're kind of fucked, But you trust the riggers, you trust your equipment, and that's just part of the thing. They do checks and the jump master checks and everything beforehand. I felt very safe in doing it. But
I'm glad you felt safe, because my stomach hurts right now.
yes. But the best part about the night jump, and the first one that I did, I was the second, right behind the initial, and the initial guy out the window, out the door, and that guy freaked out and sent himself to go to the back because he couldn't handle looking out into a black abyss with the noises. And so then I had to step up right in front and be the front, and it was like no greater metaphor for staring out into the abyss. It truly was. And I came face to face with the abyss, and I saw a little bit of myself into it,
Wow. I feel like, and this is just my own opinion, I feel like I would rather jump out at night than jump during the day, because you can just see. I don't want to see anything. I'd rather just jump and not see anything.
Well, I will say there are great views from up there. It's not that bad during the day, You get to see for a good long way past the trees in the jump zone. It's actually really beautiful.
One day I want to try it, just to say that I did it, because I love roller coasters. I feel like, you feel a little. I'm sure you feel a little rush.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about roller coasters. Yeah, I mean, roller coasters are like, compared to that. Most roller coasters that I ride, I'm like, yay! Like, it's a little bit lame, because it doesn't.
Oh man.
Yeah. The only one that I did do that made me, at least for a couple of seconds, go, oh shit, this is real, was in Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Have a shuttle experience where they actually have a centrifuge and they spin you around.
Oh, I
and
haven't been on that.
Simulate traveling up into space.
Oh wow.
And that is real. That's like they're actually spinning you in a centrifuge. And when I felt that, I was like, oh shit, that's everybody else next to me, because they do it in 4s. The people next to me were like, what is going? Like, they were losing their minds. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I haven't felt that in a while. That's fun.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, a little crazy.
Oh man, I'm gonna not get on that.
I recommend it. It's fun. You know, I think that.
Well, speaking of funny stories, though, can you tell us a short, funny story or the funniest thing that you remember from either boot camp or from your MOS training?
Yeah. Uh, so okay, so we had this guy. We'll call him B1.
All right.
And in basic training, he was um a little bit nerdy, a little bit like by the book,
Yeah.
and he was also kind of absent-minded. And
Oh
like you
man.
could tell that his heart was really in it,
Yeah.
but his mind wasn't catching up with his heart. You know, he wanted to put himself in and think it's like, well, you're not really quite ready for that.
Yeah.
But he didn't know. So this is maybe like the second or third week, still very much at the beginning, and
Mhm.
they come up and they rush us out to go, line up to go to chow, and we get out there and marching in two files, and because his last name was in B's, he was up in the front,
Yeah.
and so he had forgotten to wear the T-shirt underneath his blouse,
Oh.
and the drill sergeants turned around and saw it and realized what it was and started yelling at him. And how can you be so stupid? We have to be in uniform to go to jail. All the way back now. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? His face, and he was trying to be as stoic as he could, and just standing
Yeah.
there. And then he yells at him and goes, "Beat your face," which, if you don't know, in the military is a alternate way of saying do push-ups.
Yeah.
But B1 didn't know that. And so he reached up and he punched himself in the face. He staggered himself too. We were just busting up laughing.
Oh man.
So funny. Even the drill sergeant was like, "That's not what I meant." It was everybody just had to take a few moments to be like, well, if you don't know what it means, he did take it literally, and if someone is that dedicated where they're going to follow orders to punch himself in the face if they're ordered to, that's a dedicated soldier right there. Yeah,
That is funny. Oh my gosh. Well, transitioning to a little bit seriousness, where did you deploy to?
so we deployed to Iraq, Fob Kalsu, which was 30 miles south of Baghdad.
Mm-hmm. What?
And
Go ahead.
sorry.
You got some more?
Yeah, we were also at Copper Patrol Base, which I'm pretty sure might not be in existence anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a patrol base a little bit away from Fob Kalsu, but we would be out there in with the community at this patrol base where we're living in, at some points it was tents, at some points it was sleeping out on just in the sleeping bags.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually we brought in like Connexes and kind of retrofitted those with some bunk beds.
Mm-hmm.
That was much later on, but we built that place from the ground up. When we got there, it was just a patch of dirt, and we eventually built it out into a very functioning patrol base. And it was good to be a part of that. It's the whole platoon that does it consistently over a period of time. It's a real long project, and it's one of those things where it's like we're building something for us.
Yeah.
And it was very satisfying.
That's what's up, because I feel like a lot of people, they don't really understand what a deployment is or why, like, you're not always just going there to go and kill people. Like, I was a part of a unit, an aviation unit, where we had to go to Camp Buring and build that up for the Army and for the Air Force to come and live. So I'm glad you explained that.
You guys set up our tents. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Don't judge us.
It sounds familiar.
Don't judge us. I was only there for like 4 months, so whatever everybody else did, blame them. I went somewhere else to do security forces, man. What are
Yeah.
some challenges that you had to go through while you were in the military, and ones that you feel like you could talk about?
Yeah. Meeting the standards, um, especially in boot camp. It was all about meeting the physical standards. And when it came to the infantry, especially when they introduced combatives, everybody wants to be the best,
Right.
but you have to start realizing that you can't fight like everybody else. You have to fight like what works for you, and you can't just always be you get the rear naked choke just because that's the one you like. It doesn't work like that. Fight's not always going to be the way that you want it to be. So you have to learn everything that you can and be extremely athletic and extremely just ready to go further uh, in aggressiveness than anybody else, and to keep that mentality is difficult. Is really weird. Like even for me,
Yeah.
I was a single soldier. I was with girlfriends or whatever, and there's definitely an aspect of you have a different life.
Yeah.
Like in a way, you're living a double life because you're not the way that you are in your unit when you're talking back at home. And as you should, there's no way that you could get away with that. You know, your relationship will go real quick if you start trying to be her NCO. It's not going to be good. So, so there's meeting those standards, and um, and keeping up. There's a lot of times in which they're doing 30-mile ruck marches, 15
Hmm.
ruck marches, 7-mile runs in the morning just because. Not every day are you going to be ready to just bust out and do that.
Right.
I was one of the youngest people in my platoon,
Hmm.
um, and I would fall out all the time and
Hmm.
run. And eventually I'd start getting up and getting further and further to where I didn't. But I had to make a conscious decision of, mental toughness to push yourself further than what you think you can do. And that was always something that stuck with me in the military,
Hmm.
doing what needs to be done instead of just what you feel is good enough. There's always a phrase, good enough for government work. But when it comes to locking up 100 detainees and making sure that they're all, you know, not going to run away and are tagged in exactly the way that you need them to be transported out, that there's a lot of detail that go into that. You have to be aware. You have to be paying attention.
Thanks for sharing that. What's some advice you would give someone who's thinking about joining the military?
Join the Air Force.
I second that 100%.
They have uh, um, I I think the most important thing nowadays, um, honestly, is be aware that there is such a thing as an illegal order. And if someone gives you an illegal order, if you know the UCMJ and you know it's an illegal order, you can disobey it. And you can disobey it with purpose. And that is an important, very, very important aspect of being in the military. Not everybody has to disobey a legal order, but I did. And it's one of those things where you have to be knowledgeable enough to pick your battle. You can't pick it wrong, because if you pick it wrong, then you're really screwed.
Yeah, they can
Um,
mess up your career.
yeah, for real. And it's no joke. And they still want to do it with me, but it's it was one of those aspects to where I knew I was in Iraq, and all I had to do was withstand the storm of people trying to convince me that it wasn't. But in the end, I would say that for people joining nowadays, to be aware that that's an aspect of the military. Not everything is you have to do it. There's a lot of things you have to do that you don't maybe not want to do, but want to is different than the aspects of what we're talking about here. And I would say that's an important thing.
I agree with you. I was looking on Facebook maybe a few weeks ago, and I saw this video where this guy was at a fast food restaurant or whatever, or maybe it was just a regular restaurant, and he was in his military uniform, and he was talking to someone, the waitress or waiter, and he was like, the waiter was like, "Oh, I thought about joining the military, but I didn't want to take orders." And then he was like, "Well, yeah, thanks. Well, here you go. You can take my order." and, and it was just so funny because it's just like, dude, like you don't want to take orders, but you're still taking orders now. And I think people's perception of the military sometimes is all incorrect. And I feel like they should really like try to learn more about it before they just like cut it off, because it really could help them or be a stepping stone.
Absolutely, yeah. I will say, in civilian people's defense, they have no way to actually see what it's like unless they join.
That's true, but you can go on YouTube and look at training videos.
Nowadays they're actually much more transparent with letting seeing what it's like on the training.
Yeah.
But I joined before YouTube was like a thing.
Yeah.
I remember I got back from on leave,
Mhm.
and first thing that my brothers did was like, "We've got to show you this video. It's called Dick in a Box. You're gonna love it." And so I had never seen it before, and also the one with Will Ferrell where he's yelling at Pearl, who's the little girl,
Yeah.
cracking me up. That was one of the best times on leave, was just watching those videos, realizing, oh, YouTube's a thing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, nowadays you can see a lot of what it's like, and I would say that it's tame compared to what I was used to, and I would know that what I went in, it was tame compared to 10 years ago to that, and 10 years prior to that,
Right.
that was to the one before. One of our drill sergeants got moved out of our unit because he slammed a soldier up on a wall and slapped him in the face. He got
Hey,
out of the unit like he was no longer a drill sergeant.
I got
And
one better for you. When I
yeah,
was in boot camp, our drill instructor got in trouble for like doing some illegal ITing like in the laundry room or whatever. I don't know as to the extent of what she was doing to people, but they ended up getting our whole platoon in an 8 recruit front. So we all were sitting there, and our senior drill instructor apparently did some things I don't want to say in front of us to the drill instructor for doing those things to us. Now, I personally, I don't ever believe nothing. Everything that I was doing in boot camp, I thought it was fake. So all these people are like, "Oh my God, this is so scary," and I'm just like, man. But it was actually real. She really did beat her up, and yeah, I'm not gonna name any names or say what happened, but yeah, it was crazy.
yeah, sounds like a crazy situation. Yeah, and sometimes that kind of stuff comes to light.
Why did you get out of the military?
So I got out of the military by choice, and it was kind of normally I'm not given, people aren't given this kind of a choice, and it was because so to tell this story, we had been through a few different combat situations, things that were pretty traumatic, pretty violent. We lost some people. I lost friends. And when I came back on leave, people who knew me the best could recognize that something was drastically and terribly wrong with me. And they said, you should go and try to at least talk to someone who knows, so that you don't have to carry around all this shit and feel like you have to hide everything. And in a way, I did. There's an aspect that you're under classification. You have a security clearance. I can't tell people. I couldn't. Well, at the time, I couldn't tell people the things that were directly going on.
Right.
I had to tell a specific person who was security clearance to hear that. And they told me that it wouldn't come back on me, and it absolutely did. By the time I got back to my unit on leave, they already had the Joe News Network, or JNN as we called it, was running wild with rumors about me being AWOL or not. And I'm sitting at Camp Liberty in Baghdad, ready to go with my team leader, and the talk from the company is being like, is Martin even there? We don't even know where he is. And he's like, he's right here. We don't believe you. What do you mean you don't believe me? Yo, there's no other way for me to prove this to you. He's right here. Speak. There, you hear him? You were making that up. Like there was a real cognitive dissonance that was going on. And I, in a lot of ways, I kind of felt betrayed, because I had been doing everything with these guys.
Right.
And, now all of a sudden I get labeled with PTSD, and now all of a sudden I'm persona non grata, and the platoon doesn't give a fuck. It just didn't make any sense to me at the time. So I started to trust them less and less and less, and things started to get more and more, tension. I was getting in fights with people in my platoon because they would say something that one I remember, and I'm still proud of to this day, is one of the bigger guys of the platoon on a guard change. This is right after my best friend from basic training, Jeff Bisson, had just died in an assault on Fallujah with Alpha Company. And he turned around to me and said, "Sorry about your friend Bisson." And I got out of that Humvee, and I chased him down as he was standing right over the edge of this 15-foot berm. And I Sparta kicked his ass straight off that thing. And he flew 15 feet down and cracked his back. He had his IBAs on and cracked his back plates. And my buddy who was down there was walking up, and he almost crushed him. But he did do the funniest thing that, like, it made me laugh, and it still makes me laugh to this day. Is when he landed and he went, "Oh shit," and then stood over him and gave him the Friday, "You got knocked the fuck out." And after he did that, I was like, you will always be my best friend. It was great. But not all of them ended in that sort of clean, they're not going to mess with me anymore kind of thing. It would come back around. People hold grudges.
Yeah.
And it especially if they don't understand what's going on. And eventually, I got moved to the talk in my company, and then I got picked up by the battalion sergeant major as working directly for him. But I couldn't tell anybody of what was really going on, that I was working as a helper and handler in a way. And for example, he would have me pass notes to lieutenants and tell me that I had to memorize everything that was in the room and relay to him everything that was in the room, what his disposition was, what his facial expressions were like, and report back to him in every single thing that I saw in full detail. And he was trying to give me a track into special forces, because this wasn't regular Army work anymore. This wasn't going outside the wire. This was, internal investigations. This was, dealing with battalion and brigade headquarters to make plans for the entire AO. It was a much bigger deal than what I had been going on before, and I had to up my security clearance.
Yeah.
And so when people would be like, "Dude, Martin, you aren't even around in the company talk anymore. What the hell's the deal?" And I'm like, "I
can't tell you.
Tell you." And they'd be like, "Dude, fuck you. Like, you're just being an asshole." I'm like, "No, I actually can't tell you." And they would get really pissed off at that because they'd see it as pretentious.
Yeah.
They see it as, oh, now you think you're better than this. It's like, no. I mean, to me, I'm like, no, I am better. But I don't want to make you feel like that, it was stupid. And in the end, he had me do this mission where I had to pull guard on a local national who they didn't tell me anything about what he was. They just said, go and pull guard on this guy for an hour, relieve the people who are there, and come back and tell me everything that happens. Well, when I got there, this guy was extremely talkative. He had 3 different phones because he was being essentially a triple agent. He was playing us, he was playing the insurgency, and he was playing the Iranian army, I believe.
3 red flags right there anyway. Like, you got 3 phones? Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, and these were the Nokia phones, those brick phones back in the day. Yeah. And he was essentially, his backstory was his entire family had gotten killed in different points in time by different people. Some by us through collateral damage, some through the insurgencies from different countries. And he had a grudge. He had a really big grudge. And his mission, that why he was there, was to blow up the north gate of Fob Kalsil. Of course, he didn't say anything about that, but eventually I started to figure it out that something big was happening. And then he laid it on me of what was actually going down. And he had gotten orders to make sure to blow it up while I was there in the time frame. Not like because of me, but just in the time frame. So I saw that as the sergeant major sent me there knowingly.
Yeah.
And this was his way of trying to cut up a loose end.
Yeah.
And because I at that point, and after hearing his entire spiel, it was aggressive, it was heartfelt, and it was real, and it was violent. His whole family, like everybody, slowly just picked off one by one through circumstances that were all based on the war that he didn't want to have anything to do with. And in that way, I completely understand why he felt the way that he did. I think any of us probably would if we were put into his situation. However, he went full psychotic with it, and eventually I was able to talk with him because he understood English really, really well, especially for his age and what he was. He couldn't have been more than 30 years old at the time. And I was really, really lucky. He said that he would wait. And he waited about 5 seconds or so after I walked out the door. And I felt the blast from the VBIED blowing up the North Gate, blowing me forward. And I had to keep going to go and report back to the Sergeant Major and leave that as it was. And that was my final mission. And when I got back to the Sergeant Major and told him everything that happened, I said, I don't fucking trust you anymore, and I want to meet with the Colonel.
Heck yeah, because right then and there, I'm pretty sure you figured it out. He wasn't expecting you back.
He was not. He was not. Yeah, when I walked in that door, I could see he was visibly surprised. He did not expect me back because he had already heard that the bomb had gone off of the north gate. He already knew it before I even got back. This was maybe a 3 to 4 minute walk, but I ran, So once I had that meeting, I had this meeting in a really dark, those blackout tents, where no surveillance comes into them. They're like 6 layers. It's ridiculous. It really did feel like a movie because there was just one light in the center of it, and it's like, not under these lights. Like that's what it really did. And it was, luckily I had intel that even the colonel didn't know about what was going on. There was the sergeant major had sent me on a mission. The reason why he was sending me on with those letters to those lieutenants was because he was investigating lieutenants selling uniforms to people who they didn't know. And it turns out that they were selling it to the enemy, but they didn't know it. So there had to be a full investigation into stopping it, but they were also trying to keep it under wraps because they didn't want people to go to Leavenworth. But eventually somebody did go to Leavenworth for it. And it was a big deal, but something that they really had to keep under wraps. At that point, I'm pretty sure the colonel didn't know that. And there was a whole bunch of other information, especially with the mission at the front gate, that he had no idea about. And I guess I impressed him enough to where he explained the situation. And essentially it came down to, I don't trust you anymore, but you know what I'm capable of doing. So if I'm going to be, you're this killing machine and you go and betray me, what do you think I'm going to do? And if that's what's waiting for me in special forces, y'all can keep it. Yep. I don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
If I can't trust the people that I'm working with, even as a solo operator, if I can't trust the higher ups, what the hell are we even doing? And it wasn't just that, they're like giving us orders and then changing them. And then it's like, we don't know. Do they even know what they're doing? No, it was much more direct.
Yeah.
It was way more direct. And they were doing it to me, for me. So they gave me, and after this whole entire thing went down, they gave me the option. They said, look, you can go. We'll give you a recommendation. You did well. You survived. We'll give you the option. We'll give you a recommendation even to go to special forces training after we're done here. You get a recommendation from Colonel Garrett and Sergeant Major Primario. And you'll get in, and it'll be all on you to get through the training. But or you can walk away right now. And I said, fuck you. Give me the golden ticket out. Because at that point, the majority of my platoon didn't give a fuck about me. And those are supposed to be my brothers through and through. And very, very few of them were. And then at the top, it's like, I get called up in this thing. I feel special. And it's like, no, they're just waiting to waste you.
Yeah.
And that it's a different experience.
You're just another body to them, basically. Right. And it became much more visceral than just, I'm going to throw myself on some concertina wire so everybody can run over. And then, posthumously, I'll get the Medal of Honor. No. You're going to die in a ditch and nobody's going to fucking know. And you'll be lucky if you get an ARCOM. And it was just a different, nobody is doing anything for medals. Nobody really gives a shit about medals. Right.
What they really give a shit about is whether or not people come back from the missions that they're sent on.
Right.
That's what they really care about. And if everybody comes back, that's a success. And we don't need no medals to symbolize that. The people standing to our left and right is what symbolizes that.
Right.
And we lived it. And that was our, our credo for pretty much the entire deployment. But I saw the cracks in that in people's mentalities once they start turning on you. It becomes a different game when you feel like you can't trust the people who you previously could. And I feel like that is something that has gone across the United States. A lot of people have lost faith in institutions, and rightfully so. There's a lot of really good reasons to not trust your institutions anymore because they're not telling you the truth, and you know it. And if you know it, then what are you supposed to do about it? And that is a struggle that I think everybody nowadays deals with it. But when I was in the military, I felt like I was the only one dealing with it. I didn't have anybody who I could talk to and be like, and try to work the shit out.
Yeah.
I had to wait until I could get back in the civilian world and then speak with the people who had more clarity on it than I did, because I was still, messed up on the emotions of it, let alone the physical aspects of PTSD that are constantly dragging your nervous system away from whatever moment you're in straight into pain all the time.
Right.
And that's really the hardest part about PTSD. It's not just the mental aspect, it's the physical aspect that really takes you down and just crushes your soul. And that's really been the hardest part about it.
Well, thank you so much for being vulnerable and talking about that. I guess that'll be good to go into the next question, or a good seamless transition. So how was your transition, going back into the civilian world? Because I can only assume that PTSD like really kind of messed you up trying to get back into the rhythm of things.
Yeah. And, I was also very disillusioned. And that also played a role in it.
Mm-hmm.
The transition back was rough.
I know.
At first I jumped into a bottle, and I got out before my 21st birthday.
Wow.
So I couldn't even legally drink, but I was still sitting there with a handle of vodka on my girlfriend's porch in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And one time a fucking moose came out of the trees, and I'm sitting there staring at it with my bottle, just being like, "What's up, moose?" Like not even. When you get to Alaska, they give you a video, they show you a video as a safety briefing to say, don't yell at moose, don't approach moose. They will kill you. They're bigger than you think, and they can not just stomp your ass, but those antlers, they know how to use those too. So, fuck with the moose is like the most important thing that they do. And so at that point, I was like, I don't even care, man, and just yelling at moose. And the thing literally came in like maybe 4 or 5 feet from me, and we just had a fucking stare down. And the girlfriend opened the door just slightly. Was like, Sean, get the fuck inside. What are you doing? And I just slowly backed up and walked inside. And the moose is like looking in the window and everything. It's like, where'd he go? It was surreal experiences. And I would say that my transition into the civilian world happened, but I didn't get the help that I needed to truly understand it until 2012.
Okay, so what year did you get out of the Army, and take us to 2012?
So I got out of the military in 2007, in September of 2007. Okay. And I stayed in Alaska for a few months, and moved out of Alaska around November. And I drove all the way from Kenai, Alaska, all the way down to California.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the most beautiful drives ever. Like it is, especially then, there were parts of it where there was no pavement.
Wow.
It's a highway and there was no pavement.
That's crazy.
It's just,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. There was parts of it where it was super sketch. And even the truckers would be like, are you sure you want to go? Because I had a 9700 Accord, but I had studded tires. So I could down that thing. I was better than just about everybody else. But the snow following me, and would, I'd sleep for the night and it would dump a solid like 2 or 3 feet, just a massive amount of snow. And they would barely get through, blowing it off the road. And sometimes they wouldn't at all. It would just be packed down in semis. We're driving these packed down, snow packed roads and it was
It was
unbelievable.
an adventure for real.
Yeah, like a real one. Like you are now in the shit, and this is not a different kind of
Oh yeah.
shit. Um, there were times in which I was, especially I remember driving on this section of road where the snowstorm is on me. It's total whiteout. Doesn't matter which way you flip the lights, it just looks like the snow is coming right at you. There's no, I could not see in front of me. I could see a silhouette of the horizon in front of me, and it was way off in the distance. The snowstorm was right on top of me. I could see the where it ended, and it was still like, maybe a mile ahead of me. And I could only tell that I was still on the road by the lines that were kicked up on the dust of my rear tires.
That's insane, man.
I could only tell I was on the road because of the side view mirrors. I could see the lines on the road, and it was nutball. But it was exactly the kind of experience that I guess that I needed, because I went headfirst into it. So after that, I dicked around for a little bit and then went to Minneapolis to try and go to music school. I knew that I wanted to do music school after I got out of the military. I knew I was drawn to it more than anything. I mean, I had the GI Bill,
Right.
so if to anything I wanted to do, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the when I applied to McNally and Smith, I went in for the audition, and the guy who was auditioning me was basically like, "Dude, you don't know enough. What's the matter with you? You shouldn't even be here. You're barely even good enough. You can't even play two versions of a pentatonic scale, dude. Why are you even here?" It was like that, and I was like, "Well, if you're gonna be that big of a dick about it, then screw you. I don't even want to go to the school anymore." So I walked out of there, and 2 weeks later, they give me a call, and they're like, "Why aren't you in class?" I'm like, "Because of that dick during the audition. He told me I wasn't good enough to go to the school, so I thought that was the official word."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, you can still come." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. No." So
They wanted that money. They wanted the money from the GI Bill.
They just wanted that money. Yeah. And knowing now, McNally and Smith was closed in very dramatic fashion, and not too long ago, because of mismanagement administratively. And
Not surprised.
yeah, it's not surprised. But Musicians Institute is where I applied to go after, and they're still going, and they're doing just fine, in a relative sense. There's maybe all the teachers there who were there when I was there, but they all rotate out. But Musicians Institute really did teach me a lot. It gave me the real basis of industry knowledge that I needed, not just for performance and to be a session musician, or to play live, or to have stage presence, but also the inner workings of contract law with musicians, what to expect. So when someone is actually trying to screw you over, you'll know what is standard and what is not.
So basically like artist development, so to speak.
Yeah. Essentially how to develop yourself.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's doing artist development.
At all. And you can tell with the newer artists that are out here, like no stage presence, people still getting screwed over on contracts. I feel you.
Yeah. It's kind of rampant in a way. But there are people who know it, and it's either from experience or it's from education. And it was really, really important for me to learn about marketing and promotion, because that was something that I literally avoided. Like I was starting bands, and I was still like, flyers are good enough, they're not. You have to do shit more than that if you want to have a successful show.
Yeah.
And I just didn't fully understand it. And I don't think a lot of people around me really did. And we're also operating with the smallest of budgets. We barely have enough to print the flyers that we do.
Yeah.
So it's like, I hope they work. That's all we got, But yeah, it was, there's a lot of varying groups of very varying genres
Mhm.
that I tried to be a guitarist in, or just an aspect of a band, or just advising them, or something like that. And the majority of them um, fell off in some form or another.
Mhm.
One situation or another took them down. And after after a while, I was just like, well, I've got songs. I know I can write. I'm pretty sure I can sing. So at that point, I had stopped singing entirely. I just focused on guitar.
Okay.
I didn't. I only started to combine the two in a class of guitar vocal accompaniment by Dale Turner, who's a really fantastic at this. He's a master, and he was able to teach me fill in the little gaps that I needed to really give a great guitar performance and a great vocal performance at the same time.
Wow.
And it's a skill, and it's something that you have to train. It came naturally to me to play and sing, but when it came to too complicated things, I'd be like, well, that's a little too
Yeah.
complicated. I wanted it to be to where there's nothing too complicated, and I wanted to push myself to try and get that. And I'm still on the way. There are still things in which none of it comes exactly easy for me. I have to train up on everything that I do.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like that's, I learned the right ways to do those things to build yourself up, and if from Musicians Institute, from the people who and the teachers who were there, and even some of the students,
Mhm.
you learn from example of people trying to do something and coming back and having an honest discussion with them about it. You can really learn a lot.
I agree. I think it's really important, no matter what industry or niche that you're in, like you make sure that you can be a student of the game.
Right. I like to think of myself as the eternal student, that I'm always learning from somebody, from something,
Same.
for some reason. And I feel like it's a necessary part, just to fight complacency. And if anybody who's been deployed knows that word,
Yep.
because it's in your face all the time. Don't get, all the time. And I wanted to take a lot of those mentalities from the military into the the way that I ran things as a band, or the way that I would push myself to practice, would be just as disciplined, and I'd go until I got it.
Mhm.
Didn't matter,
Yeah.
you know. And eventually, I had to figure out a way to tone that down, because eventually I'd screw myself over. You stay up all night to study for a test, and you stay up until 4, and you have to be up at 8,
Mhm.
and you don't sleep too
You
well,
might bomb the
and then
test.
you test. What was the point of you studying the whole night?
Right.
So I had to make some adjustments where I can't get too gung ho
Right.
about it. You got to work smarter, which
Absolutely.
is also another
For
thing.
sure. So it's 2012. Did you get involved with the quarantine in 2012? Did you start it before then? Like, how did the quarantine come about? Can you tell us how it evolved?
Yeah. So I started the quarantine in 2010,
Okay.
and it was the first couple of years. It was very amorphous. I I had some, we were still working out who the musicians were going to be, whether we wanted to have 4 or 3 in the band,
Mm-hmm.
and it was dependent on schedules. Um, Most of the time, drummers have, like, 3 other bands they're working with. Your other guitarist, if he's really good, and he had like 2 other projects, and this one was like, this is the fun one. I like doing classical music. Like, I don't really like grunge, but it's fun to play with you guys, so I'll
Yeah.
do it. And eventually he shows himself out the door, and so you have to adjust. But I was writing these songs specifically for this project that I knew was my way of musically expressing my story. I wanted to. At the time, I didn't have the knowledge to write a script.
God.
I didn't have I didn't have any other medium that I could think of to explain or express anything that was going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in 10, I hadn't even asked for help yet.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm walking around, Hollywood Boulevard with a real mean mug face, trying to get myself to class on time, wondering why nobody wants to talk to me. There's a lot of just me missing what the social cues were because PTSD was taking me completely out of the moment.
You weren't approachable if you got a mean mug.
And I mean, there's at least a few times I know where I would give criticism that I had learned in school, and people were not ready to hear it.
Oh, I bet. Because you're probably telling it with no filter.
No filter. No filter. And it was bad a few times. There was at least a few times, especially one where I went to this. We'll indulge in the story. So I went to this show off of Santa Monica at one of these small theaters, like 40 or 50 seat theaters. And one of my friends convinced me to go to this, this person was putting on a showcase. And I was like, all right, well, I never really been to a small artist showcase. Like, I might as well go see what the deal is. Hopefully they're really good. And this girl got up there, very young, maybe 20, 22, real big, long, blue fingernails.
Oh, wow.
And she's playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
So if you know anything about playing with fingernails on guitar, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you put those things. You can't just have long fingernails and expect to sound like you're Guthrie Govan or Tommy Emmanuel. It's not, you're going to fail bad. And she was, doing all covers, but she would do only like 30 seconds of them because she kept joking. I just didn't practice enough. And I'm like, this is a showcase. Why are you telling us that you didn't practice?
That part too.
You're like, now I want to be here even less. Yeah. Like, what's the matter with you? So there was more than a few things that I found wrong with the thing. And I was walking outside smoking a cigarette, and my friend came up to me and was like, Sean, what's the matter with you? And I'm like, I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I'm kind of pissed off because I thought I was going to a showcase, and I went to somebody's bullshit session for 30 minutes. And I explaining why, like all these things. And I could see in her face that she had this really like that kind of look on her face. And I realized the performer was right behind me.
Oh, no.
Time. So I turned around and I shook and I grabbed her hand and I said, please don't take this as I'm just saying it because I don't care. I do care. And I want to see you become better. But it's got to come from some kind of razor.
Yeah.
And this is the honest opinion. You can take it with a grain of salt or you cannot. You can see me as an asshole. I completely understand. Yeah. But don't bullshit your audience. Don't try to make fools of them because they're not going to take it.
Right.
Show and have an artistic integrity and you will do good. You will do well. And I don't know. I know she cried a little bit and left. And it was not one of my better moments. But I knew that I was just trying to vent. And I thought that it was safe to vent. And it was not safe to vent. It's one of those, Hollywood, especially in Hollywood, nobody wants to talk bad about it. Nobody wants to say the honest things that they actually think or feel about them, especially not to their face. Because what if they become famous? Yeah. And you're on somebody's famous shit list. The truth of the matter is that I never really gave a fuck about that. The truth is that if somebody's going to be famous, they're going to have a reason. Yeah. There's a reason. And if it's a legit reason or an illegitimate reason, doesn't matter. Whether or not they take criticism is a totally different thing. Sure. Whether or not they're teachable, doesn't matter whether they're famous or not. That's a razor that is there regardless of money or fame or how many girlfriends or boyfriends you have or how many fans you have or how many people like you or how many people hate you. None of it even matters except for your abilities. What you can take the training that you've gotten and turn it into. That's what it matters when it comes to creating content. especially for musicians.
Absolutely.
And so it was one of the one of those experiences that I'll never forget.
That's pretty cool though.
Another one.
So where is the quarantine right now? Like, where do you have three members? Is it four? Are you still uh funneling people in and out? And tell us about your latest single.
So the quarantine now is just me. Um, I'm the main lyric and music and lyric writer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's kind of been that way. I've led the way with a lot of the original ideas, and I would let the band members, you know, sink their teeth into it, so that they could get their their understanding and see their place in the music.
Mm-hmm.
But the structure of it and everything, I would come to them. And so now that's pretty much what it is. And I took the latest album to Blackbird Studios in Nashville and Sound Emporium Studios in Nashville, and let session players, the real professional Nashville session players, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was so awesome to see these guys take apart these songs that I had shown to other people, and they'd be like, I don't know what to do with it. Like they would have no idea, but these guys would be like, oh no, I've got this and I've got this and I've got, oh no, I see what you did. Yeah, you smart motherfucker. They would see the little nuances and everything that I would put into it, and it would turn into this other thing that was really, really great and way better than I ever could have imagined. And so that's the general story for Aversion to Normalcy, this latest album.
Awesome. How would you describe the music that you all create?
It's punk, metal, and grunge.
Okay. Now, do you have any dream collabs with anyone that you want to do one day? You can give however many people that you want.
Yeah. I think working with a rap artist and making a rapping verse, singing chorus with like a Kendrick Lamar,
That would be crazy.
would be,
Yeah.
He's really got an extra talent for fitting rap lyrics to non-conventional, tracks. And I don't think that he's done anything with punk, but his lyrics are totally punk.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
And like my favorite one is King Kunta. Yeah, fuck the judge. Like that, like it made past 25. So he never thought that he was going to, in case you don't know the story. And the judge told him that he wasn't going to do that. So he put it back in his song, and because he did. That's as punk rock as it fucking gets. Like that's the best. So Kendrick Lamar, Eminem would be really, really amazing to do. I mean, the lyricism is off the charts.
Heck yeah, Eminem. In my opinion, my top 5 lyrics, Eminem is in there for sure.
Yeah. I would also love to work with other singer from Paramore. The name's escaping me now.
I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about. I'll listen to them. So.
Haley? I don't know. Hailstorm, Lizzie Hale.
I don't know who that is.
That she's a super powerful rock and metal vocalist.
I'm gonna check her out after this.
Yeah, it's built up quite a she's built up quite a discography, and a very, very impressive discography. And actually, Nathan Yarborough, who did the producing and engineer on Aversion to Normalcy, worked with Hailstorm.
Nice.
It's one of the bands that he worked with, along with Alice in Chains and Korn and Mastodon, Evanescence. So his credentials are
nice
fantastic.
Resume.
Right. I mean, I would like to work with any professional creative.
Yeah.
Who's able to, because for me, not all of the songs that I have out are punk, metal, and grunge. I've done a cover of A Change Is Gonna Come, and it was part of Bedroom Inc., which was an album of covers. that I realized that I could not release in any official format. I had to release it on Bandcamp, licensing, and you can still check it on there, and whatever. But uh, so I've done a lot of some pop stuff and R&B stuff.
Ooh.
One Last Chance, original song that I did that's very much more R&B than it is rock. And so I think it'd be really interesting. I've always felt like I was good at playing guitar for like in a hip hop context.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like to put those guitar, just a few guitar riffs behind things, and setting a full platform, a bed for the music to lay in. That's always been something that I've found I was able to do pretty easily. It didn't really take very much to do it. And as a session musician, that's what I thought I was going to try to pitch myself as.
Oh, okay.
But then I realized I'm just going to write my own songs and then they'll hear it. So it works out.
Well, I hope something does come for you. I mean, some things that come to mind for me is like probably back in the day with like Run DMC or like Beastie Boys or Jay-Z did something with can't think of the name of the group right now. But anyway. Yes, Linkin Park.
Yeah.
But I could see that for you.
Nation.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are you signed right now, or are you independent? Are you signed to a label, or are you independent?
No, I'm independent.
Okay. What's some advice that you would give someone who wants to get into the music industry? I mean, it could just be one or two things too.
Yeah. I would say the first thing that I would say is to make sure that if you're going to go into the music industry, everybody is unstable. So that means you have to be stable. You have to maintain a peace in your life that makes you aware of motivations, of intentions, to be able to see through people. You have to be clear-headed, because I've done other interviews, and when I say I think it's 50-50 of people who are deliberately choosing, I'm going to rip somebody off, and 50% that is trying to do the right thing. And another interviewer was like, I think that's being a little generous. So it's very, very necessary. I have had my run-ins with people trying to screw me over. I had a very bad manager that tried to steal an entire record.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, it was really, really a horrible situation. It really, really set me back for a good long time. Not just emotionally, but business-wise, musically speaking, financially, it was bad. But I'm very happy in that I've been able to overcome it. But it is so necessary for someone to maintain their peace. And another thing I would say is, if you don't like learning, then don't be a musician, because you have to constantly learn. And if you don't like practicing, you're so fucked. Not even, because practicing is what makes talent. Talent doesn't exist. Practice is what makes talent. And I know that for a fact, because when I first started playing guitar, the first song that I learned was Time of Your Life by Green Day. And that riff is or that chord, playing those arpeggios is very simplistic and good for a beginner. But it's also very meaningful. It carries a lot of musical weight and a lot of emotionality. So it's very good for that. And there was a time in which I would play it so quietly and barely pick the strings, just to make sure that I was getting the fingerings right, my fingers were in the right places and not buzzing or anything. And then finally I decided to play it out, and my brother came busting in and was like, "That's you playing?" I thought that was the actual stereo. And I'm like, I got it then. I know I did it right.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I thought you were playing. And, so practice is what will build talent. It doesn't just come natural. Nobody is born with it. You have to work at it. And when you work at it and invest in yourself, you will always see the dividends for it.
Thanks for that advice. I love that. Now, in 10 years, where do you see the quarantine?
Uh, I hope that we can be a internationally touring act.
Wow.
I hope that with the visual identity that I'm building with the music videos that we're doing right now, it's really going to take it up to another level. We have a story that is going parallel to everything that's going on in the music. It's very much like Pink Floyd's The Wall or Prince's Purple Rain. It's a story-orientated music video series where each song is a part of the series.
Wow.
Excuse me. And it's really, really fun to do. I'm shooting it with Wild Tree Productions in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that's gonna take us, but I hope that it's touring, making more and more content and finding the aspects of society to have an effect on that are necessary, that live a life that Mark Twain would be proud of.
Well, I'm manifesting that for you. I'm speaking it into existence right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this next segment is called Uncomfortable Questions. I'll ask you an either or question, but then you have to choose one and you have to give a reason why you're choosing it. So this first one is, would you rather have life partners or marriage?
Life partners.
Why?
Because there is no reason why the government needs to be in somebody's relationship.
Fair enough. Would you rather say that again?
There's a reason, and all of those reasons are bureaucratic reasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very necessary, in a hospital circumstance. And this was the one of the biggest things for the gay marriage movement, that if my partner of 20 years gets put up in the hospital and they won't even let me in the room because they don't see me as his family member, but I'm the only family that he has, what does that even mean? Like, how can anybody do that?
Well, you can go to a lawyer before before your health issues get bad, and you can get a power of attorney, medical power of attorney, get all that in writing, your will and testament, so it doesn't have to go through probate. And then when you end up in the hospital and you're about to die, there's your paperwork. You don't even have to get married. So there you go.
Well, shit. I guess that problem's already been solved. I didn't even know it.
I know, because that's what I went to go do, because I am not married. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Would you rather
there's always
say that again?
There's always ways to get around marriage.
Sure
you don't
is.
need to do it.
Sure is. Would you rather die by an explosion or die in your sleep? I feel like you have some experience with this one, so.
Yeah, I do. I almost died in an explosion. So I can tell you, you don't want that. Because dying in an explosion doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right away.
Mm.
The first IED attack that I was in was 2 155 rounds plus accelerant that blew up in the back right of the Humvee. And at the time, they had these extra armor that would stick out from the door. And so when the back door was open, the front driver's door would be locked closed and the armor would hold it in place.
Wow.
So I had to dislocate my shoulder in order to pull that door open just a little bit so that I could get out of burning Humvee. So technically, you can still burn alive in an explosion, and that's still a way to die from it, and it's not so immediate now, is it? So That's what I would think of. So definitely die in your sleep.
I agree. Me too. Would you rather end world hunger or end all wars in the world?
Oh man.
I'm gonna tell you what I'd rather do. I'd rather end world hunger. I just feel like it's so unfortunate that people have to pay for food. I feel like we should all be living off the land. But that's my opinion. What's yours?
Yeah. That's fair. That's kind of what I was leaning towards too. Um, I mean, ending every war would have an effect on world hunger.
Okay.
However, ending world hunger would take away a serious aspect of scarcity that affects the world in so many different untold
Yeah.
ways.
So which one you going with?
Oh man. I'm gonna say end all
All
wars.
right. All right. And I could see why ending all wars would, at least it would make a difference with like trying to conquer places for resources, you know? So that would definitely, change the landscape of things. So I feel that. Would you rather sleep on the beach naked or sleep in the Amazon naked?
Beach, no question. No question.
Man, why?
Have you ever seen Amazon? How many spiders they have?
I'm scared of spiders, and I would still choose the Amazon because I just don't want sand in weird places, man.
I can understand that. I can. Yeah. Yeah. For me though, unless I have a hammock, I'm going for the
Okay, I
beach.
feel that.
I mean, I've seen the like the Naked and
Yeah,
Afraid
yeah, me
show.
too, me too.
When they're on the beach, they get tore up because the sun's relenting, and they have like third-degree
Woo!
sunburns in like no time. But at the same time, I feel like the Amazon would kill
It
you
would.
20 different ways before you even got to lunch. Lunch is probably some grubs, so it's not. It only worse from there, I think. But
Yeah.
I mean, you are next to the ocean.
I mean,
There's a body
it
of
got
water.
its plus sides for real. It does have some pros on the beach. I agree with you, but
Yeah,
sand and me don't get along. Like I've been in the desert, and yeah, it's a no.
you and Anakin Skywalker have something in common there.
Yeah.
It's so coarse, and I just don't like it. Yeah.
No social media or no TV, including streaming services.
Oh, oh. I would say no TV.
I agree. But what's your reasoning behind it?
Well, social media in its most idealistic form is mass communication
Yeah.
across the world instantaneously. That's pretty important. That's a hell of a lot more important than an actor making a thing that makes you cry. Doesn't matter how meaningful it is. Well, I mean, it kind of
It
does.
does.
If it,
Entertainment is
yeah,
important, but I agree with you because it's just like as an entrepreneur, or if you're a musician, you're still an entrepreneur. You got to get your message out there. How are you getting it out there? You're not always paying for commercials on TV, but
yeah, and that is a very very good point. And in the era, in the earlier area, in the earlier era of music, you know, you you had TV, you had radio, and that was pretty much it.
yeah,
And now the mass communication makes it possible for anybody to step up into that, and that is critical. However, Charlie Chaplin's speech of the dictator.
I don't know about that, but now I have to go look it
I'm
up.
not sure. I'm not sure if that's the right name
Mhm.
of the, but it's the one where he's a leader of some kind of fascist,
Mhm.
and he makes a speech that is counter to everything that the regime has been talking about. And he, goes out in a limb and tries to stand up for the beauty and humanity of all people,
Yeah.
and the we're not machines. We are not machine men with machine eyes. We have hearts. We're men.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that speech alone is seriously powerful and important. And that's, if there's one good thing that I could say of TV, that particular production is of vital importance, socially speaking.
For sure.
However, the social media is more important.
At this moment in time, I totally agree. 100%.
Yeah, I don't even like saying it, but
It's true. It's true. You know how many media outlets, even TV news, how they're all on social media. There's just no way of getting around it. It just is what it is.
yeah,
So this next segment is called Rants with Sharryse. It's my favorite part of the show. You get to share and rant about whatever you want. It can be about people not using washcloths or not taking showers and baths or whatever, not brushing your teeth, not using signal lights, or it can be stuff about music, whatever you want. But then after you share your rant, you have to give us a solution about how the problem can be fixed. So the floor is yours.
okay. I'm going to make a pleasant that I'm start off with my hypothesis
Okay.
first. I think that mental health care should be included in as a right, in the same way that or we should subsidize healthcare just like we do oil for energy or anything, because mental health determines why you do something, and the energy is just how you get there. And it says in the preamble that care for the general welfare of the nation. Nowadays, we have a responsibility to millions of children who have to deal with schools being shot up on a consistent basis for the last 10 years at least. The numbers have been unbelievable. And just that solution, the solution that we have, I don't think is with guns. I think it's with mental health. And I think it's a serious issue that if we were to get truly good mental health care to everybody for free, it would change the face of the nation and make us so much infinitely better. And I feel like the Constitution is saying that, even though they didn't know mental health as we know it today. But it is so important because it's why. So my solution would be subsidize it like oil. You put all the money into it until the cost becomes zero to the average American, where they can show up anytime they want to and get mental health care. I know as a veteran, having the Veterans Call Center has been a lifesaver on multiple times, multiple occasions. Yeah. And the mental, I'm lucky in that I was able to get access to mental health care when I really needed it. I was extremely lucky. There's more than a few people who were right next to me and were not chosen to get the help that was given to me. And just about everybody who I've ever known will benefit from therapy in some way, shape, or form. They will benefit from it if it's done correctly. And that is the key thing that makes it really difficult, is that how do you stop the government from using mental health as a way to just control people and indoctrinate people?
Yeah.
It has to be done with care and empathy. It has to be done with compassion. It has to be done with a set of rules that holds it in place and stops it from going into tyranny, just like any other part of our government. But if there was one thing that I could change, that's what I would change. I would include mental health in it is necessary for the nation to take care of the general welfare, and include mental health in that, and subsidize it like we do oil.
If I had my way, I would totally wish we could do that too. Great rant, man.
Yeah.
Well, before you go, can you please share your social media with our listeners, and also share where they can get your music from?
Yeah. So we're on Facebook, Facebook.com/The Quarantined. TikTok, especially, we've been getting a lot of really great numbers on TikTok. We're TikTok at The Quarantined, Instagram at The Quarantined. We have our website, www.thequarantined.com. And the latest single that we have released is Shadow on My Back. Then another one that will come out soon is one of my favorites on the record, Nemesis Friend of Mine, which is I consider it, for me, to be it's a 7-minute song. It is a hallmark achievement for me, because it's really it really takes you on a journey.
Cool.
And I'm very, very proud of it. So that'll be coming out September 17th.
All right, lit.
And the album itself, we still have 2 more singles to go, but the album itself will be out November 12th. And you can follow on our website, on social media, on TikTok especially, and soon to be on YouTube. We're going to have music videos up on there. So go and subscribe now and get in there early.
Yeah.
And start supporting, because these things are going to be fucking badass. They're going to be great.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on my show. I can't wait to see your projects. I'm excited for you. And I hope we get to do an in-person interview maybe next year.
Sure, absolutely. That'd be great.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me so much. This is really fantastic.
My pleasure. Thank you as well. And thank you for listening to Connect Like Minds.